We're paying people and not knowing what they're doing or where it's going or whatnot, or they have a bookkeeper that's doing it and they don't know what they're doing and whatnot. But we all get accustomed to putting the information in. So most people can get the information in some form or fashion by brute force or by a bookkeeper or an accountant or something. That's generally where it stops for the smaller to medium-sized businesses.
Yeah.
And I know we were talking about this earlier. So it's one thing, that's not like where your superpower is. It's not getting the shit in the system. It's then what's after that, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what just happened? And then even more so, I'd like to talk about like, hey, what are we supposed to, what are we looking towards? That's the real power, I think, of having a real CFO that you're not paying gobs of money for.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the way we will describe it is there's a difference between finance and accounting. We talk about accounting backwards, finance forward. That seems to be a revelation for a lot of people. Then you'd be like, oh, okay, now I get it. Like putting it on the scoreboard, and then like what's my break even going to be? How long is that going to take? Can I afford to hire this person? All those things are the forward-looking side of it. And we think of ourselves as a finance first company, and accounting is something that you do because it is a foundation.
Welcome to The Roll Call, the podcast where we dive into the roles that define us. I'm your host, John Glahn. On each episode, we explore the journeys of people discovering their true roles in life, business, and beyond. Get ready for inspiring conversations about finding purpose and authenticity. Let's roll the roll call. Welcome, everyone. We have John Marshall with Series Next Solutions with me here today. They get you out of the finance seat. There's a lot more involved in that. I'm John Glahn, your host. All is accounted for. Let's start the roll call. So, John, welcome today.
Thank you.
I know we are newer acquaintances. We've met in the past, but I know we share the same passion to help entrepreneurs in our own fields. So why don't we go ahead and I'll let you provide everyone who is John Marshall and what's Series Next Solutions?
Sure, great. So I am from New Orleans, Louisiana. That's always fun to lead with. I get a lot of great stories from people if I just say that.
Right.
There are a few people still there practicing business and living their lives. And,
not just partying.
You know what? It's a great time in the spring.
Yeah.
But that's a big part of me, where I come from, and why I started my own company. I just tell people I ran out of jobs to get, so I had to make my own, and that's how I started Series Next Solutions. So I've been running the SNS for 5 years almost now. Wow. Yeah. So we're Survivor started at the beginning of the pandemic. Actually 3 months before.
Okay.
So
good foresight.
Yeah. Want to talk about persistence and entrepreneurship? We can do that.
Yeah.
On the personal side, I'm married with 4 kids, 10, 8, 6, and the baby that you've met, here this week.
Cute Matthew.
Our ultimate conference prop to attract people to your booth. And so, that's me. I work and I raise kids, and sometimes I go to football games.
Awesome. Football where?
Tulane. We live very close to Tulane University.
Awesome.
We're living in the golden age of 3 straight years out of 150 or whatever that they've had a good team. So.
Nice. Love it. So, one, congratulations, because you made it to the 5-year mark, which is like the mark of death, right? For companies, right? If you make it past that, then
In fairness, I've still got like 50 days to go.
Oh,
but I'm feeling pretty good about it.
That's fantastic. So, you made a joke about run out of finding other jobs to do, but what truly was the catalyst to start the company?
Yeah, I should admit that I've always known that I wanted to start something someday. And the real specific, more technical catalyst is that I had been working as the COO of a scaling startup. And when I showed up there, I ended up on just like an 11.5-month run with them until they ended up getting sold. But when I showed up, nobody knew what a debit or credit was. It was a wildly successful, doubling in size, every year kind of group. And that backside really needed to be shored up and built. And so that was my job to do that. And when I rolled out of it, I looked around and was like, man, I really want to do that again. But the things that I did that were super valuable, I did like 20% of the time, and the other 80% I was, doing what everybody does in a startup, running around with your hair on fire. And like, so I would be like building a database for a couple hours and then like talking to a delivery driver, 3 states over because we decided to send pizza somewhere and he couldn't find the door.
Right.
It was just that kind of world. Like, I probably thought I was inventing the fractional space.
Yeah.
Because like working genius, my biggest ones, like my geniuses are wonder and invention. So I'll just invent ideas and, and not check on them. So, turns out it's a thing.
Yeah.
But that's how the whole thing got started, was really me taking on a client here, taking on a client there, and starting to work on those same things and figuring out, these companies in this space, they need help. They're unique, but it's the same kind of help that they need. And I could really put this together into a program where, first I can do it and then I can teach some other people to do it. And, fast forward to today where we've got the SNS Financial Pulse philosophy to get people out of the finance seat, and $2 to $10 million revenue companies is where we live. Mm-hmm. But that all came out of that one experience working inside of a company that was scaling like that.
So you said, what does it mean to get you out of the finance seat?
Yeah, that's a great question, because it probably means something a little different in the fractional space. But for us, it means that our CFOs ultimately are delivering 2 things to our clients. One is better data faster. Like they are able to make better decisions because of what we're proactively bringing to the table. And 2 is, when you think about being out of a seat, that means somebody else is providing the energy for that seat and making it go. And you think about entrepreneurs in that space, $2 million to $10 million, got a lot of hats on.
Right.
And it can feel like everything stops if I stop.
Mm-hmm.
So if part 2, our team is constantly showing our clients, hey, we're the ones making these things go. If you don't come back and follow up with us on the thing we talked about, we're still coming back to you with it. Mm-hmm. That's getting someone out of the seat. We call that ease their pain, by the way. It's one of our core values.
Certainly, no, absolutely, because that is painful.
Yeah.
For most entrepreneurs, there's one where it's like, okay, when you're certainly getting off the ground, even into, again, it does blow my mind how many multi-million-dollar companies are running on QuickBooks, right? I mean, simplified software. And the same one that a $30,000 a year person could be using, right?
Yeah.
And
FTX was running on QuickBooks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah, exactly. And, but what happens is, it's so easy to use, then the founder is using it, or someone is just moonlighting, like, make sure we get invoices out, right? Or we're paying people and not knowing what they're doing or where it's going or whatnot, or they have a bookkeeper that's doing it and they don't know what they're doing and whatnot. But we all get accustomed to putting the information in. So most people can get the information in some form or fashion. By brute force or by a bookkeeper or an accountant or something. That's generally where it stops for the smaller to medium-sized businesses.
Yeah.
And I know we were talking about this earlier. So it's one thing, that's not like where your superpower is. It's not getting the shit in the system. It's then what's after that, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what just happened? And then even more so, I'd like to talk about, like, hey, what are we supposed to, what are we looking towards? That's the real power, I think, of having a real CFO that you're not paying gobs of money for.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the way we will describe it is there's a difference between finance and accounting. We talk about accounting backwards, finance forward. That seems to be a revelation for a lot of people. Then you'd be like, oh, okay, now I get it. Like putting it on the scoreboard, and then like what's my break even going to be? How long is that going to take? Can I afford to hire this person? All those things are the forward-looking side of it. And we think of ourselves as a finance first company, and accounting is something that you do because it is a foundation, right? I told the joke in the session today, like Mater from Cars, he says, I can know where I'm going just by knowing where I've been. you got to know where you've been to know where you're going. And it's, how much money am I going to spend next month? What am I going to spend on travel this year? It's probably somewhere close to the same thing you spent last year. I'm gonna tell people it all has to be approved, and I'm like, yeah, well, you're just gonna approve it. Yeah. So let's get it on a page and see it. So yeah, that forward-looking piece is where we set up and what we call the SNS Financial Pulse, and it's designed to dock into any operating system or none for your business. That the Pulse itself is super simple. It's like we do a lot of EOS stuff, Bloom, scaling up, all the stuff that's out there there's some basic building blocks. How they put them together is really, really important. Our building blocks are very basic too. Mm-hmm. It's basically update your stuff every quarter, make new predictions, measure against it monthly, and see how you're doing against your predictions so that you can get better at making your predictions and you can make decisions about, let's say, month one in the quarter. What am I going to do for the next 2 months? What do I have to really focus on to hit the numbers that I predicted?
Yeah, and I'm, maybe helping you with the tagline coming up. It feels like in my head too. It's getting it out of your gut, right? Because most entrepreneurs are like you just said the one thing. Like, can I hire this person? It's like, what's in the bank?
Yeah.
Shit. Maybe if God, I know we're going to grow. If I hire a salesperson, man, they're going to start paying themselves in a year. And they just do the math. Like I've seen it so many times, like looking up here, doing the calculation. Yeah, let's hire them. Let's go hire somebody. Right.
Yep.
And it's the gut and it's the feel and the magic. It's not magic.
Yeah. So. There's a point in your organization at which that no longer makes sense. And there's a point before that at which it actually kind of does. Like the messy world where you can see and do everything as the entrepreneur because maybe you only have 2 or 3 employees. And it's pretty intuitive at that point. But when you get to the point that you've got a couple $1 million in revenue, first of all, you get something to lose at that point. But also you've got an organization that's growing enough, probably in humans and complexity, at which you can't really see what every single person's doing all day, every day, and you have to start managing by numbers. Yeah. And that's when it starts coming into play to be able to say, okay, I need to get some of these building blocks on paper so that I can start making decisions based on that.
And, you are, like so many service organizations, like me as a business coach, right? Or, or someone that's doing marketing or, generally when you either someone's approaching you or you're approaching an entrepreneur or smaller business with what value you provide. And I'm not projecting out that you would be a premium or anything like that, but you're right. It's always I know I need something. And then they might hear the price and they don't understand the real value of what that service might bring in the end, right? Because they just don't know. They don't know what it's like to predict. They don't know what it's like to know what the future should hold or to be making decisions based on numbers. So, how am I wrong, by the way?
No.
Okay.
No, you're not.
These objections are how are you showing that, or how do you overcome that? What's the value that you are espousing to bring?
Yeah. So a lot of it has to do with the right moment to be talking about it with somebody. Because occasionally somebody will say, what's the ROI going to be in the next 3 months? And I'm like, really, in the next 3 months? Direct ROI is you're probably not going to see it yet, but you're going to feel it. And feeling is getting out of the seat. It's a simpler understanding of your organization that clears your head up, right? It's focus because of that, right? And then for most entrepreneurs, there's a confidence that shows up in selling because there's not that nagging voice somewhere way back in your head that says, we can't deliver this. Oh, we got to do all this. No, we're not. But you've got that jettison now. So I'm even the finance guy who says, we got to measure things. That's really, really difficult to measure. But the truth is that small business owners like that, they're really making their decisions based on more than just simple ROI. I'm not saying we don't deliver that.
Right.
When we get a company onto a growth plan and we start tracking against that growth plan and it starts showing up, it's there. And it's also a pretty simple calculation to be like, look, your gross margin is, 60%, and we cost, let's call it 67 because it's easier, and we cost $4,000. So you got to make $6,000 a month more based on us. Okay, how many clients is that? Like, what does that look like in your world to do that? Okay, then you decide if we're worth it. So we kind of work through it in those ways with people, but it very much helps. As I mentioned, our fee is typically about $4,000 to $6,000 a month, depending on the complexity of what we're going to have to do. If you get a bunch of entities, it pushes your fee up because we're going to close. There's more work. But when you're looking at it and you're like, I think I need someone, like that's when it's much easier for us to raise our hand and be like, look, the someone who costs what we cost is not bringing, these 6 things to the table. And what you really need is these 6 things. You just don't need a whole human doing each of them. Yeah. And that's when it kind of becomes pretty obvious. That
too. And I'm imagining, and I'm saying I imagine it because it's experience for me. When we are on small businesses, right, we're generally the owner. I'm going to say this is a generalization. Are mostly paid last. Yeah, most people don't realize that, right? Most people think that I fly in and right. Yeah, I didn't either. Until I started the business, and I realized, hey, when it's fun, like I'm just we're great. Everyone's making money, and then when the real decisions happen, and my wife was the first one when we were really small. She's like, well, you're hiring someone. I'm like, yeah. She's like, well, that's our money. I'm like, yeah. Every bit we pay someone else, we don't get.
Yep.
And it wasn't, and the lens was not ever I'm taking this home, or I'm not saying that should be the way, but, that mentality is right. We know we need to hire people need to make us money. That's how a business should operate, right? As an owner, you need some other people that are bringing the money in, right? And so that was a one thing to get over with, the hurdle, but it was also, still a mentality that many small business owners have is they're really looking at, very few are saying, well, wait, that's not coming out of my pocket. After a while, it's not about you and your pocket. You're starting to then, all right, I'm trying to grow. So hey, if it's a salesperson, then let's do it. Let's invest with that gut.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, if it doesn't work out, like, oh, well, that certainly came out of my hind end. Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious how much coaching you're really doing. Is that mostly what you're doing is coaching? Am I going to just feed that one to you?
We talk a lot about business therapy.
Yeah.
And sometimes, we have what we call our monthly pulse meeting with our client when we got our single page review and we're 80% forward, 20% backwards on it. And that sometimes you just have to let them talk because they're trying to work through something and it intersects with what's going on personally, and I don't have time to be at work because this thing's going on. And so business therapy definitely happens, but the mentality I think that you're asking about, we talk some about that. When I say we, I mean my CFOs and I. But most of the time, by the time somebody gets to us, they've kind of figured that out.
Sure, right.
And I'll tell you, there's two scenarios when people come to us. One is a growth scenario. I am growing, or I have some event that is catalyzing my growth, and I really want to do it right, like a funding round. And 2 is, oh no, I think I'm running out of money. Can you help us? That's a lot harder scenario. But in that former, they've kind of started to figure that out. It's a little bit easier because at that point you're dealing with companies that are generally profitable. And so that's been taken care of a little bit. But yeah, on the opposite side, that it's the opposite conversation sometimes where you have to sit down with that business owner and be like, look, your costs are here, your revenue's here. To break even, your costs have to go there. 65% of your costs are payroll, right? Mm-hmm. The highest paid employee is you. Mm-hmm. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's the real inflection point. That's the mirror, right?
And the truth is that for small business owners, there's a lot of heart involved. Mm-hmm. And to your point about getting paid last, I've seen far more small business owners say, I'm gonna cut myself for a while and figure it out on my end, because I'd rather do that than stomach letting someone go.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. So what role are you playing in the business today?
Lots of them.
Yeah.
We're still decently small, so that I'm not, I don't have a fully baked leadership team. Mm-hmm. But I'm having the time of my life most days, living the roller coaster, other days of the small business owner, doing everything from vision to client ops to sales, and integrating. Okay, I'll admit it. I'm doing both for now.
Right.
But that's at our point in size. That's okay. That's fine. Mm-hmm. I love the coaching portion of my job, and I'm thinking through right now, as a CEO, the path, which, by the way, I think you probably have interesting opinions on. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now it's time to build in leadership. What's the path? What gets let go of when? Mm-hmm. Do I need to spend money first on fractional marketing or full-time mm-hmm. marketing, or do I get finance first? I'm not going to go and just give you the blanket opinion that, finance is first. Come on, let's go.
Yeah,
but right. Sometimes it is. Mm-hmm. I don't know. So I'm working kind of through some of that right now. Like, okay, so if I step out of the sales seat, do I still get to do marketing? What does marketing look like? I don't know marketing, but I know I like talking to people.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I am. But I do also a lot of coaching with our staff, because I kind of started this thing as a spreadsheet whiz, mm-hmm. And work with some of my full-timers who are our tool builders. Our business is really built around being efficient with certain tools. So Close Checklist is a tool. What we call Measurables Tracker is a tool. What we call Process Accelerator is a tool. And they're all Excel things.
Sure.
Built using a tool called Power Query. It's been hiding in plain sight in Excel for like 10 years, and no one still seems to know about it. It's like a miracle. So, viewers at home, go learn that.
Yeah. Was it the AI before AI, or what?
I mean, it's a query tool. It's like turning you into a database developer, but it's no code. You just tell it what you want to do. Use clicking buttons instead of typing code. So we smashed together data sets from different systems that would take people hours to do, and we're like, no, we got it. We'll just go build this thing, and it'll take 5 minutes every time. And next thing you know, people are allowed to allocate their payroll.
Wow.
So this is a long, winding answer to what do I do, but that stuff,
small business, baby,
like nerdy Excel stuff, I still love. Yeah. And I try to focus on teaching on that now, so that I'm not, because you start it and you're like, oh no, this would be fun, I'd like to do it, and then 6 hours later you're still working on it. You're like, well, there went today.
Yeah, right.
I hired staff for this.
Yeah, and I think ultimately that's the crazy balance. So I'm working with leadership teams too, right? I'm normally starting with someone.
Yeah.
And a lot of them don't have that. And they're very similar, right? They don't have the integrator.
Uh-huh.
Ideally, right, we're working with the size of company, they've got a version of it somewhere, but we don't have that. And most of them, again, there's always a visionary. The founder is generally along those lines, and it's all of us would love to snap our fingers and be like, out of the madness, I can place a COO here, I can place a sales leader here, I can do an ops leader here, I can do a finance here, and my life will be great. It just doesn't work that way. Again, like you said, unless there's you have an uncle that you don't know, that you never met, that dies, and you file a pile of cash, and you're like, okay, maybe I can start a real business now.
Right.
That's possible. But, most of it is, and the hard part is seeing the longer term. But what do you want to do? What do you really, you got here because you love doing X, Y, Z. Mm-hmm. But is it because you had you learned to know this and you grew to know this? Or do you really, really love it? And that's a hard mirror to look at for most of us, right? Yeah. We start a company based on an opportunity, not based on what we love doing. And sometimes they're lucky ones that do it and start it and love it, and it's great. Most of us just see an opportunity and go knuckles to the floor, let's go get this done. That's how most businesses go. You see an opportunity and someone jumps in. And then it's about longer term. What do you really want to do? What do you really love to do? So the question is very rarely an easy answer, right?
Yeah.
So that's the question back is thinking about all the things you're doing and what would you really, really love to do if your whole day was filled with it. And then it's the long term of how do we get there? Because as you know, you fill a seat that most people aren't good at or love to do because you're really, really good at. So there are people that love to do all the crazy shit that you don't love to do. That's the thing.
I like to tell people, nobody got into business to do the finance and accounting of their business, right? Like you have a gospel you want to preach. You have a thing you get energy from, something you do, something you're passionate about. Although, the exception to the rule is us. Actually, we did that.
Right. Yeah.
We like to call ourselves endearingly nerdy, and that's our shtick. That's our role. Put right angles in our marketing.
And that's there's the other part to answer is, some people you just like the business you're in, you like the income you have, you like the lifestyle you have, and that's beautiful and that's wonderful. And I think some people lose sight of that and thinking that they're supposed to go grow. Because it's okay if you like where you are and your life is equally split among your family and the things that you want. That's great. Then you have the other side of growing, and it can be steady climb or it can be, breakneck speed like you've been a part of, you've seen.
Yeah.
And you got to decide, what do you want? Those are very different options. And if you're saying one thing but your actions are doing the other, then that's where things get sideways. And as entrepreneurs, and we're the ones that are taking the risk, generally.
Yep.
How much more do you want to take? And so that's how the roles start getting filled out once you decide what that speed you want it to be.
Yeah, that sounds like a very familiar story of how we work with business coaches of all stripes. Is having those conversations and working in lockstep with them about so we're working on figuring what does it look like, financially. The person who says, no, I'm really ready to go. I want to raise some capital and take this thing from $2 million to $10 million in 24 months. Okay. We'll throw that in and see what it tells you. And there are times we're like, based on the speed where you're growing, you're going to have 86 employees in 2 years or in a year. Today you have 48. Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I think we need to hire an HR manager. Yeah, let's put them in, right?
Yeah.
Because that's hiring like 3 people a month or whatever it is. So, without turnover. And that's how our group, helps be a part of that. And we talk about that a lot. We're the if-then people. If you did this could be the financial outcome. I can't tell you, for example, if you raise your prices by 5%, whether you're going to have attrition in your client book. But I can tell you if you raise your prices by 5%, based on who you are, your bottom line's going up by 25%. There's a multiplier there, right? Because it all goes to the bottom line.
Right.
That's just kind of our role in the whole world. So if you're doing that, we'll come on. You said you want to do this. Let's look at the if-thens.
Yeah.
Oh, if we do that, we're going to run out of space in our factory. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Go start planning for that with your business coach.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I want to ask you, because we're here, about personnel. When people come into a world in which they're trying to get organized, they implement an operating system, they start working with a coach. I've seen a lot, the business owner, the visionary CEO turns to someone on their staff. There's somebody who's the obvious second in command, right? And says, okay, well, you're the person now, and this is it. Like okay, great. And that person doesn't necessarily work out. Like in most cases, I've seen it like, nope, it turns out that's not the person. That was just the person you started the company with or working it with. What's the experience like of working through that process? And is a coach able to do much to I don't know, speed it up?
Meaning speed up that second in command to get them up to speed, or just skipping that process altogether and going to get the right one? Which,
I would say getting to those result, whichever it is.
yeah, I would say and what you just experienced or what you just described is a supremely common one, and experience share in my own company. Right, I've done that and lived that, and I have clients who've done the same thing. So it's just, obviously you've seen it plenty of times. And most of the time it is whomever gets stuff done. The ones that I have experienced, it's like, they're the one that whenever I, as the visionary, right, that was the seat that I've had in my company. I bring up something and they're the one that like, got it, I can go do it. And it's like, whew, the pressure relief, right? Yes. And they can go, just go do it, right?
The energy.
Yeah, and so I don't know if you sat in this morning, the integrator continuum kind of discussion that they were talking about, right? There are different needs of an integrator based on the size of the company and what the company is. And so that does work at the beginning because they're the ones getting stuff done, and they're the ones that make it seem easy for the visionary. That's mostly where that goes. And there's the emotion tied around it, whether it's, again, a loyal someone, and we sometimes are blinded by that easy button, which means I don't have to go hire someone. Yeah. It's a known at least, but we're ignoring the fact, or we don't know what the company really needs out of that second in command, COO, integrator. Mm-hmm. So a lot of it's, there's maybe some ignorance in it, but it's when we now have those conversations, it's, yes, I clearly see that person, because I'm on the third party here, mm-hmm. I clearly see there's that person could fill this void for what you need today, for who you are today, and you just need to declutter the chaos. That can work for today. But long term, is that the right person? Because we talk about because generally in a small company, no one has the experience that really is required for a COO to take them to another level, right? Because mm-hmm. there's business acumen and there's things that the next level of integrator or COO, like true COO, they have experience and they come with a cost, right? And so where to speed up the conversation or to speed up get them to the next level is, it's either, yeah, that's the right person because that's where we are financially and that's what we need to do. Someone has to help that integrator, COO, mm-hmm. with the right mechanism to help. I don't love the word holding people accountable, because that's no matter what the operating system, right? It's lead manage, hold accountable for EOS, or lead manage, and what we use is help win. You have to have a leadership part of it, right? They're supposed to be leading the leadership team, is really the number one job. Mm-hmm. And that part gets left out in most cases.
Yeah.
Because again, they're the ones that get stuff done. They're the ones that plow through the work. They make the visionary feel great because they hear what they hey, you have that idea? Okay, I'm going to get it done. And they forget the fact that they're supposed to be leading everyone else in the team. That's the real part that they take off of the visionary, because the visionary, again, many visionaries, they're great leaders. People follow them. They're charismatic because they have a vision, and everyone just, oh yeah, love it. Doesn't mean they manage them well. My hand up is, I am not a good manager. I'm not good at setting expectations of the employees, checking up on them, and again, using that word, holding accountable. But are they committing? Are they doing the things that we agreed to, whether using KPIs or whatever? That's where most visionaries fall apart. Mm-hmm. And that's what the real part of a COO is. That's the power is someone that can, we agreed to this plan, VTO, whatever you want to call it, this yearly target, this quarterly target. We agreed to it. Now who's holding us accountable to get that done? That's the power of it. And that means not doing it. That means getting the team, how are we helping the team get those things done? And most times we lose sight, we skip that part, because we think we have an easy button of someone who will get stuff done. So I don't even know if I answered your question, but I think that's mostly is really being clear on who they're leading, and then being clear on, and also getting the visionary out of the way in the right way. Most cases, visionaries are like, I have someone, so I'm going to run. I'm going to go to the next thing.
Yep.
And they forget that they need to help that person if they brought them up in the company. I need to help them do this job. So I think that's a key piece. Because you've been wearing 14 hats for so long that you're like, "Whoa, I got someone to take that off my plate. I'm going to go do everything else."
Right.
And you forget to come back to help that person.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting point. I think I did that actually.
The reason I know that so well is because I've been there, done that.
Yeah.
Got a T-shirt. So, is this your podcast now? I think that was really nice. I appreciate you throwing that back on me. That was really great.
There's one question.
That was great. Actually, I just because of how we we ran into each other today, the rest of the roles in your life, right? You're clearly said you're a family man, and you have kids. So, describe your role outside of S&S.
Try to support my wife as much as possible. So we have, for the audience's context, we have 4 kids, 10, 8, 6, and a 12-month-old. And the 12-month-old pushed us past capacity in our house. So last year we had another baby, and I'll just say we call him our second caboose. And got a new house with more space and double the interest rate, and the business.
Yeah.
So,
and starting over with
at
diapers
home,
and everything.
Yeah. So at home, it can look like a chaotic startup.
Yeah.
So.
One where you're not the CEO, by the way, right?
That's right. That's right. I try to be against my better judgment. But I would say that at home, I have roles with teaching and coaching that are that's very different than teaching and coaching at work. Because when they're your children, they're your charges, and it's a totally different relationship. However, there are lessons to be learned, from both areas that can be applied across. A wise EOS implementer named Matt Hani once told us several times, to his point, you have to tell somebody 7 times before they get it. Don't be mad at them. That's just life.
Yeah.
It definitely works that way in family.
Yeah.
I am our routine builder. So, like, very specifically in the mornings, I am responsible for kids wake up through kids ready to walk out the door. That takes me out of the making breakfast responsibility, by the way. So I'm not but that is about routine, right? Doing the same stuff the same way each and every day. How do you get a 6-year-old to decide to dress himself and not complain when breakfast isn't what he wants it to be, just on the conveyor every day? You mentioned helping them win. I try to push really hard on myself to think about that notion actually with kids, right? And it makes me better at work. So my 6-year-old pitches a fit about something, like, because he doesn't want to, I don't know, put his shoes in his room. Am I gonna just let him do that and teach him that he can pitch a fit and not do it? Okay, that's one option. Sounds like a bad outcome. Yeah, right. I can meet his force with my force, and, brute force carry it through because I'm paterfamilias. Yeah. That doesn't lead to a real sustainable outcome. I'm not going to tell you that never happens, but as far as you know, it never happens because you're not there.
You're a great father. Yeah.
But if I'm doing it right, I'm going with them and saying, "Come on, we're going to do this together." Right? I'm helping, but he's also learning he's not getting out of it.
Yeah.
And that's an accountability piece, right? That's been a really valuable lesson for me in terms of, like, what do we mean by holding someone accountable? And so you just talked about, well, say lead manage, hold accountable, but Bloom says helping them win. that really resonated with me, because that's what I've learned is like, oh, accountability is not like yelling at somebody for not doing it right.
Well, again, there's so many different versions of accountability, right?
Yeah.
And the most, lyrical, the sense of most people think is, if I don't, as an employee, holding me accountable means if I don't do these 3 things, I'm fired, right? This becomes the fireable offense. And, that's, again, just like yelling at your child, right? I grew up in that, household like that, right? And hard to not, then hard to not shadow that in real life. Mm-hmm. And, so do you want your people feeling in fear of their job? Or do you want them to feel like they've got someone helping them get their things done? Still being, not being able to wiggle away like you said, like your son. And I love you bringing that together as an example, and how you can how to share that, because you don't want your kids to go out and then start yelling at people, and that's why you're doing that, right? You're trying to show that, because like you said, you can get them to move those shoes, but long term, there's some scar tissue, right?
Yeah.
And I love that you brought that back, that you can, doing that same thing at work is, again, instead of living in fear, it's everyone living in abundance and help mentality.
Yeah. I think it has to be met by a growth mindset at work, though. Mm-hmm. Because to your point about layers, right? At some point you have to get to, okay, well, these were the things. It was very clear. We worked, you've gotten a ton of support to try to achieve this. Yeah. But maybe it's not working.
It doesn't relieve us from having candid, hard conversations.
Right. At
all. But it's, it's making sure to get us there, because it can be masked in that soft way. I hate firing people. That's again, as a manager, I don't want to go have a hard conversation with someone. That sucks.
Yeah.
Some people, they love that. And, really where I, was mentioning my experience share a little bit with bringing in someone who got everything done for me, and was, again, because I don't hold people accountable. This is when I had different language and thought around that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't hold people accountable. So I need to have my opposite. I need someone to hold people accountable, because I could tell people were skating. So that's what my integrator was. She was one to hold people accountable, not let anybody wiggle. And it was great, because I could look the other way. I'm like, all right, stuff's getting done. But man, I cringed every time I just saw someone squirm. And that, again, that was a hard lesson for me. I loved her, still love her to pieces. Her style, though, was not what I was comfortable with moving forward with. And so that's where there's another life lesson as a leader, right? We find someone who can do things that we hate or not are good at, and we think it's their superpower. So we're like, oh, go do that. But it still might not align with how we feel culturally it needs to be done.
Yeah, it's complicated.
Yeah, it all is. Life is, absolutely always love and fun and complicated. Yeah. So, I saw you had your wife here today. Yeah. And is she integrated in the business?
So she comes in and out.
Yeah.
At times.
Yeah.
I think she would be a spectacular salesperson. I'm wary of frankly being my wife's boss.
Yeah.
I see couples all the time who do that, and it amazes me. So long term, I don't think it works. But can she come show up and tell people about SNS and bring the world's greatest conference prop, which is an actual child? Yeah.
No. You can tell she's fantastic human, and interaction was rolling with the punches right off the get.
Yeah, she would get tired of me fast as a boss, I think. So.
No, actually, it's just funny. We just had this conversation on another episode. It was the same thing of someone who has the superpower of being able to do both, and it's
amazing.
I'll let them do that.
Yeah, Our latest company in Louisiana that just started with us. They're in the crawfish business. Like, it's perfect. Like, everybody gets excited when we have a Louisiana company like that.
Yeah,
and they are a husband and wife company, and they started it together like 3.5 decades ago or 3 decades ago. I mean, it's just remarkable to me, the journey. But think about the journey you take together like that with somebody.
Mm-hmm. You got to be lockstep.
That's a pretty tight bond. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. The flip side is, man, with our business, we work with some small business and it's a husband and wife and they're struggling. That's a lot, right? Like, because it's income for the family. It's both of them in the same spot.
It's all or nothing.
We feel it. You know, the CFO feels it. It's emotional for us, even though we just do the math.
Right.
'Cause that's a world that it blows me away that people are able to do that together. It's something.
Yeah. You know what I like to end with, and sorry for the nice little surprise for you, is, you know, what is an example of, whether you call it a failure, a mistake, a misstep that, again, was significant, but that you learn from and the audience can learn from as well.
Ooh, can it be a finance mistake?
Absolutely.
No, you know, the funny thing about messing up with a company's finances is that it's the business. That's business. That's not finance, right? We're just good at measuring how bad we did.
Yeah.
So, we made a decision. This is just top of my head. A couple years ago, now, to bring in. We brought in full-time integrator, and we said, all right, we're gonna hire some other people we're gonna get some cash coming into the business, and we're gonna go, right. We're gonna choose the fast path, and it didn't work. Sales didn't work, to be like super specific.
Yeah,
we did a great job. We did a great job on the expense side.
Oh yeah, killed it.
Building that in. Yeah, but. I was not on the same page with my two other leadership team members at the time about what was expected.
Of you, or of a role, or of?
I think of the three of us.
Sure.
And how to deal with it when things weren't quite going right. And frankly, there's a little bit like what's the accountability mechanism for the sales seat if the sales seat is also the visionary, and the integrator's like in between, like which one are you today?
Ooh,
you know,
ooh,
and like really getting our arms wrapped around that and what to do about that, and when it was okay to make, you know, radical suggestions or not in our weeklies. And I think as a team, we could have done better, and that the root cause of that was really leadership from the top, which was me, encouraging that to the nth degree. And so, you know, now I try to think through that and deal with that, even down to just, I mean, this is really expectation setting, right? So even down to, you know, working with one of my, we call them pulse managers, that are running what we call the financial pulse for our clients. For us, they make the trains run on time. Put a little something, one in to look at it. All right, every time I've got to say, I've got this thing done. I want you to, you know, can you do your thing on it? And the thing is a key role, so that's cool. But like, when can I expect it to be finished? You tell me. You know, unless I have a specific requirement, can you do it by next Tuesday?
Yeah, right.
Right. And it's so simple, but that communication piece, I'm constantly learning that lesson. Yeah, and I'll throw a second one in. Scoping. Scoping with clients. We're a flat fee business.
Yeah.
It's hard.
You have to be clear.
And learning, because our CFOs are paid out of, I'm not sure why I love talking about my mistakes so much. It could be a long episode. I'm just going to sit here and bare myself.
We all have those, buddy.
Yeah. Getting a scope right is really important with us, and getting the pricing right. And what really helps me stay honest, because I want to do all the work for free for our clients. Like, it's awesome. It's so fun to do, and you know, getting them to certain areas is great. The flip side is our CFOs are paid out of revenue. So I've got to, they keep me honest. But if I give something away or give somebody, you know, a huge discount, I'm really pulling it out of their pocket.
Oh, fair. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I say, oh yeah, we'll just do the thing, and I don't really look into what the thing is, and it turns out it's going to cost us like 200 hours of work because we committed to this thing I didn't understand.
Yeah.
I've stepped in a couple of potholes
Yeah, that's
doing that, and really had to learn from that.
welcome to entrepreneurship. It's all about learning.
Yeah.
So, a couple things. One, that's what an operating system really is. It's a communication and prioritization tool, right?
Yeah.
How are we communicating to each other? How are we setting expectations? And then what are we prioritizing so that we're all on the same page? So that's a key lesson. And the other one is what happens in the many businesses is how do you wear a hat when you're a visionary and you're a hat when you're supposed to be a subordinate to someone else as the sales seat. That's very, very hard for both of you to manage and to get permission. And you take that seat down of like, okay, you're right. I'm not doing my job on the sales side. That's tough. Thank you for that. And your company thanks you for learning those lessons.
I hope so.
So thanks, John. It's been a pleasure. How can people get connected with you and your services?
Sure. Easiest way is our website, seriesnexsolutions.com. We try to put the get started with us buttons anywhere, even if you don't want to get started and just want to talk, or you can email me, john.marshall@seriesnexsolutions.com. After you finished typing that for 3 years, you can send me an email.
Fantastic. Man, what a great time. Thanks for joining. Everyone, if you're listening, give us a follow, a like, share with your friends. Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to The Roll Call with John Glahn. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe for more insightful conversations. Remember, discovering your true role in life is a journey worth exploring each and every day. Until next time, keep defining your path and living your authentic self. This is John Glahn.